Alrighty, today is May 7th, 2025. Let's get right into the review. Today was honestly a pretty frustrating day for me personally. I'm going to go over kind of the trades, and then after that, I'll talk about why it was frustrating. So, starting off with the day, right around the 1800, which is here, price took off and it never looked back. There's really nothing to break down there. This is literally the 1800 candle open. We were tapping back into a 15-minute breaker that was valid. He finished 2 standard deviations, and then we started pulling back. So after that had happened, we get a CISD to the downside here, which was also a sweepable on the hourly, because this made an hourly breaker here on the left side. So we then have a sweepable that comes out of the market, and that sweepable is also a 15-minute sweepable. So you have two sweepables back to back in that same area. So let's zoom in onto the 1 minute for that section. Here is where sometimes you need to make sure you're using both of your time frames and not just one. If it's really early into the market, this is a 5-minute sweepable, but this is a 15 as well. So if it's really, really early into the market and the day has a lot of room, more likely than not, that 5-minute sweep is going to become a 15-minute sweepable right after. So it's important for you to be aware of that, because if you're not, you're going to get caught in the crossfire here and you're going to take the short, and then the next one is going to go. In this case, this would have been bullet 1 for the 5-minute, and then this would have been bullet 2 for the 5-minute. But you didn't really have to take the loss on bullet 1 on the 5-minute because it's so early into the day that it was very likely to get swept one more time on the 5-minute time frame to then create a second breaker and then go. It doesn't come back to fill you on this order till it had already delivered, which is all the way out here. So you wouldn't really have been able to take that unless you were on the 5-minute time frame and you decided to take candle 1, which is here. This CB got left open and never got retapped back into. Although this delivered to 4 standard deviations, this would still be valid per model to start looking short because it is a valid short. I believe on the 15-minute, on the 15-minute, it's also a CB that's valid. So either way, it was a valid short to go with. And then if we look at the projections on the 5-minute time frame, if we go like this pretty much gives us where the day was going to go from and to, and then where it was going to be pulling back from. So if we follow these projections on the 5-minute, so it's a 5-minute sweep or a 15-minute sweep and then a 5-minute breaker, that gives us 4.5. Literally, we get here at 4 standard deviations, and then we start pulling all the way back into this area. There's really nothing here in terms of this projections. Usually 2.5 is where I would expect it to go back to, which it did. But in this case, it went up a little bit further and then it dropped again. But yeah, so that's basically the only play that I would have been really watching at this time. After we had that, let me go back to the 5-minute time frame. After we had that, we then have a new CISD here. And then after that CISD, we have a sweep right there. And then after that sweepable, we have another sweep here. And so let's go back to the 1 minute in the same area. We have first sweep here, which creates a bullet. Second sweep there, which creates a second bullet. So this would now be the third bullet. But this is what I mean about knowing your time frames and knowing what's printed before. Like this CB was never tapped into. And while price, yes, could start running from here, absolutely, it can do something like that. It's not very likely to, okay? So it's not that it cannot do so, it's just not likely to. It's likely to work back up into the BC or CB that we had left over, unless it's extremely far away. Like if that CB or BC was like up here, then it's a different story, but it's fairly close in relation to where we are. So it makes sense for us to work ourselves back up into that area and then go from there. So yeah, so this was on play. Basically, this was the third bullet. And then NQ goes and sweeps it again, but doesn't take out the breaker. And then starts dropping. Now, I was flat throughout all of this and throughout the session. As far as the longs go, they're really, again, it's the same thing. Like you would have just been wasting bullet after bullet trying to buy into the day today because you have a lot of sweeps and they look funky or they're already more than 2 bullets. Like, for example, here, I think this was the third bullet already or something like that. So yeah, not a great clear price action, which is expected before FOMC. But then we have this 1 minute breaker from, is again the same area. I just marked it to figure out where we were, not to actually like take a trade out of it. But on the 5 minute, I did want to be aware of it because there's a CISD here, high, low, higher, high, lower, low, closing on this candle at 805. So once that CISD happened, I was trying to get into a trade here, a continuation trade. What I, again, failed to realize, and it's completely my fault, is the same thing I just talked about. First sweepable is basically the 5 minute first sweepable, right? The second one that happens is the 15 minute. So this was bullet 1 for the 1 minute, and that's the trade I took, which almost delivered, but didn't get all the way there. We go from this top to this bottom. Sorry, to this bottom. It almost delivered. It got to 2.5, and then it turned around from there, took the high again. Now, this is where I messed up today, to be very honest. After we had the sweep here, I was looking to short again. The problem was this breaker looks so bad to me. In my opinion, it just looked terrible. High, low, high, high, lower, low. But it has no IFG, no CB. It wicked before it closed. So literally, this is the lowest grade breaker that you could have. It's a B. And because of that, I'm expecting it to only go to -2. And I wasn't really expecting it to drop further because it didn't have the usual things that I want to see when it comes to a trade like this. Also, the 5 minute, it's kind of far away as well for it to become a CISC to the downside. So it just doesn't have a lot going for it, right? Now, where I messed up, and I looked back at it, and this is what made me really upset for today, is it is bullet 2 of the 5 minute. And so although it's crappy and whatever, it is bullet 2 of the 5 minute, bullet 1 of the 15, but more importantly, bullet 2 of the 5 minute. Bullet 2s can look funky and can have more room for error, basically, or they can have more room to look ugly or not as good, and they will still end up delivering a lot of times, even though they're not the best. And they don't deliver to 2. They usually deliver to 4 standard deviations plus, but at the very least 4 standard deviations, because it's the last line of defense basically for this to say, okay, cool, this is gonna keep dropping. If it goes above here, it basically is gonna keep going for the rest of the day, or you can expect it to go up for the rest of the remaining session or whatever. So because of that, I really should have stuck to my guns, taken it, and kept it on board. But I moved it to break even literally after we printed this candle. I moved it to break even. I broke even on the next candle right after. I get off the charts, and as soon as I get off the charts, we see this massive drop. And obviously this trade was a monster. The trade was huge. So, it definitely sucked to see the trade run without me, because, looking back, it's like, man, why did I do that? Like, it was actually not a hard trade to see. So what happened? Like, why did I do that? But yeah, so that was unfortunately my trade there. After that, I got off, and there was really nothing for me to do for the rest of the day because I was doing FX replay. And honestly, I was really pissed today after I had gotten off. And so I did FX replay, but I didn't even I rushed through it. I was live streaming it, so you can go back and watch it. It was just bad. I was just going through every trades, and I was just taking like second trades, third bullets, fourth bullets. It's just bad. But I knew it. Like I literally said on stream, like I'm gonna lose it today. I already know it, so that's why I got to get off. And so I did. So that's the one thing that you can learn at least. Like I was pissed. I wasn't in the right headspace, but I knew I was gonna be like that. So because of that, you definitely can just be off the charts and like know when to walk away. And that's my point. Like I knew my breaking point, so I walked away and I did FX replay instead of doing damage to my actual account. But anyway, so after that, we have a CISD on the 5, we have a CISD on the 15. The CISD on the 5 gives us the sweepable, the CISD on the 15 gives us the sweepable, and it's the same story. We have FOMC coming up. That means that we still have a lot of price to work with, like a lot of momentum to work with, aka the 5 minute is not really going to be the bullet 1. It's typically going to take more than that. So wait for the 5 minute, for the 15 minute to get swept. So the 50-minute gets swept here. Well, let's see. The 5-minute gets swept here first. No bullet wasted here. They said no, sorry. It gets swept here. Bullet wasted here if you would have taken that. And then you would have been flat through this. And then this would have been your bullet 2 actually. So again, bullet 2 for the 5, but bullet 1 for the 15. And so this is a pretty sure shot. Like you can pretty much take this and know it's gonna hit TP. And so sure enough, that's where we were. That would have been your fill. And of course it delivered. Now on the 5-minute from earlier, so when we're looking at all of this mess that had happened, 15-minute sweepable here, pair with the 5-minute breaker, gives us 2.5 at the very least, which was going to be below here. So you had a lot of room to work with. Like you at the very least would have known that this was going to be the target for NQ. And I think the 15-minute here, I want to say made it to 4.5. Oh no, you had already made it to 4.5 here. And then it retraced. But yeah, so I mean, that was pretty much the day there. After that, there really wasn't anything for you to buy from. There's nothing here. There's a CISD here on the 5-minute, but then there's no sweepable to work with here because there's no high here. So yeah, there was no way to actually buy from here and know for sure what's going to turn around. Like there was just no model for that as far as the 5-minute goes and the 15-minute goes. But yeah, that's pretty much the day. Moral of the story is if you know that you're already in a bad headspace and you know you caught yourself thinking that already, just make sure you actually walk away from the charts and do something else. Either go demo, but make sure you lock yourself out from your accounts, or do FX replay, or just completely walk away from the charts for the day, take the day off, come back the next day, because otherwise you really would do a lot of damage. On that FX replay session that I did, I literally took like 10 trades in a loss, in a row loss, which is, I mean, literally terrible. So yeah, just, keep it in mind, walk away when you need to. Don't feel like you got to stick on the charts just to see if something else happens, because a lot of times you'll end up burning yourself. But yeah, that's the review for today. Thank you. Bye.